The New South Wales Selective Exam in 2025 is going to be online from May this year, and this changes everything. My name is John, and I'm the founder of Things Academy with over 10 years of teaching experience. I attended both Penrith High School and Girraween High School and have helped hundreds of students make it in. This year onwards brought about a ton of changes for the New South Wales Selective Exam. The test is now being conducted at even more external test centres rather than mainly being in local schools. It allows students to do the test over multiple days rather than the same time on the one single day. It will still be relatively local, near your current public school, and even the test weightings for each exam has changed to be completely equal across the board. Among these changes though, the biggest is that it's now completely online, and students need to be aware how this could impact your preparation, especially if you have been used to preparing for this exam on paper. If you are not actively aware of this change, you need to be more comfortable with online test preparation. That is doing tests online, which would ultimately something that I would recommend going to the official New South Wales Selective website, as they have mock exams directly on there that can simulate what you'd expect in the actual exam. The mock tests that are similar in format to the new selective exam will help you not be as surprised about doing the exam online for the very first time. We are running the Selective 2025 Horizon program, which is a completely free 10-week program where students will do all 4 selective exams each and every week. Scores are provided immediately after completing the test, and weekly rankings are public for all the attendees. We will start this from the 7th of February 2025 to the 13th of April 2025, being the 10th and final day of the program. Again, it is completely free for all students in Year 6 who are serious about preparing for the exam. Please only sign up if you can actually commit to all 10 weeks. If you can only do 2 weeks and you can't do the rest, it's much better of our time for us to help mark and review students that can commit to the entire program. And especially since it's completely free, sign-ups will close at the end of this month or until we have too many students. Although besides this, there's also other testing platforms that you can practice with if you are not yet ready for the online testing procedure, and there's changes associated with it. For students who are preparing on paper with limited access to technology, this is going to be a big shift. Fortunately, most students nowadays is pretty comfortable with typing on a keyboard, but not many students can touch type without looking at their keyboard yet, which could potentially impact on how quickly they can type and how many words that they can do in a 30-minute time span. This will only really impact the writing component of the exam, because besides that, from what I can see, none of the other tests really have too much of an impact, as it's still multiple choice. Let's say, for instance, though, that it's writing. If a response doesn't have as many words or as much depth as possible, it is going to be very difficult for them to get high enough score in section A of the new marking criteria, worth 15 out of 25 marks, which is very significant. This makes sense though, as imagine if you're writing, even if it's a high quality response, but you only end up writing 2 paragraphs that are extremely high level, it's very difficult for those 2 paragraphs to be better than another response that may be slightly lower in quality, but is 5 paragraphs in total. So that is why how much that you type will play a factor, but it's still going to be prioritizing quality over quantity. Online test preparation is definitely a bit different to usual, since students need to now navigate an online interface. They cannot write down any symbols directly on the paper to symbolize certain questions that are a bit more difficult for them to revisit later down the line, or even quickly flick through the entire test paper, just like when it was still on paper. Students are still able to go to certain questions throughout the exam, even though it's online, but the speed in which they navigate and remember certain questions though would definitely be impacted compared to if it was all on paper and you remember a visual illustration on page 3, for instance. They've already marked down with an actual symbol on the test paper itself. The tests are done by Janison Education, which is a multi-million-dollar agreement with the New South Wales government and Cambridge University Press to deliver the selective test in New South Wales. This is going to be roughly 5 years minimum, with the same format as it is an initial 5-year contract. If it goes well though, the New South Wales government have the right to make it an additional 5 years, so this format will be online and in a current and very similar state until 2030, but with the potential to last all the way to 2035. Although we know this change has come into effect, what can students do about this in particular? I would say that if they're doing writing homework on paper, they should quickly change it to make sure that it's now typed online to better simulate what is actually going to come in the exam. Making sure that you're not reliant on spell check or using Grammarly in your writing responses is also very important, so that the student doesn't have a dependency on it, as the actual selective exam will not be able to take advantage of spell check or Grammarly or similar tools like that. Once this is turned off, you can either write in a notepad or even a Word document, as long as you turn off spell check. This is even more important since it's now worth 25% rather than 15% like in 2024 and prior to that. So it's not an area that you can neglect. Other parents are now shifting more to online tutoring for homework, or for homework to be done online to better simulate the new online testing approach for selective. This will not be a factor for the HAST exam or the entry test exam, which is the test required to transfer into a selective high school in years 8 to 11. But it will still play a factor for the tutoring that could evolve and change over time, and potentially they might also be online in the future. If you have been following what has been going on and from the last year or two, it has changed every few months. So be sure to keep and look out on any future potential changes that could impact your child or any student on the official New South Wales education website for any formal changes, or follow this channel, and if anything that's quite significant, I'll make sure to mention it in a separate video as well. If there are any changes or any impacts and things there being online I haven't talked about yet, please write it down in the comments below. Like this video, as I'm very excited to start the 2025 year off to a great start. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.